One of the most exciting classes of cameras to keep an eye on right now is the sort of like mid-tier, lower-tier prosumer camera market, because the gap between them and the high-end cameras is closing rapidly. It's really fun to watch. None of them this year have piqued my interest as much as Fujifilm's new XS20. It's supposed to be like a content creator's vlogging type camera. It's great at stills and video, and for that reason I've seen a lot of people travel with it. I'm wondering if the XS20 is capable of shooting professional looking video while living up to its travel camera reputation. If it's going to rule in that class, it has to excel in 3 different categories. We'll start with form factor. Next to even a regular sized full frame mirrorless body, much less a cinema camera, this thing is tiny. Weighing in at around 1 pound and at its longest no more than 5 inches, I would say the XS20 is even pocketable, especially if it's a jacket pocket. I guess it depends on the lens you're using, but the point is this camera is super portable. Somehow there's still enough space for 3 customizable exposure dials, a whole bunch of custom buttons, a great viewfinder, a joystick, a fully articulating touchscreen, and even a shockingly comfortable hand grip. The first thing I noticed when picking this thing up is how great the grip is. They even somehow managed to fit their usual full-size MPW batteries in there, so you'll get the improved battery life from the first generation, sometimes almost double. I've seen people get up to 2 hours of recording 4K video on one single battery. In case you're wondering what kind of I/O we are dealing with here, the XS20 has a 3.5mm headphone out, as well as a mic input, a USB-C port, a micro HDMI, and a single SD card slot. Besides the battery, I think the most important addition to the XS20 is the internal image stabilization. We'll talk more about this later, but the fact that Fujifilm was able to cram an IBIS system in here is bonkers. You should have absolutely no problem traveling with this thing, and it's honestly kind of a joy to use while shooting. There are tons of assist features, plenty of things to customize, and lots of options in the menus to play with. Top marks for portability. Image quality is just as, if not more important though, and this is where the XS20 really surprised me. You can shoot 6K open-gate 10-bit 422 internally with this thing, which frankly is ridiculous. There are also plenty of flavors of codecs, either all-eye or long-GOP to suit your data needs. You can also get 4K up to 60 FPS and 2K up to 240 FPS. Also ridiculous. The XS20 also inherits Fujifilm's F-Log2, and you can expect to get around 11 stops of usable dynamic range. And the rolling shutter scores somewhere in the 20 milliseconds range for 4K and 24-ish milliseconds for 6K open-gate. Okay, so here's some footage from the XS20 in here. I just wanted to do a quick demo. The colors are beautiful, of course. This is recorded in DCI 4K. Like a lot of Fujifilms, I find it to just be a little bit too sharp, but it's totally okay. Got a little bit of blur going on here, just to take the edge off of that. Yeah, I find that to be a more pleasing look. You might like the sharper look more. Totally fine. Got a little bit of a curve adjustment here, but overall, the colors straight out of the camera are amazing. Also, like all Fujifilm cameras, I absolutely love the noise pattern. You can kind of see it in here. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on YouTube, but it's just so granular, so filmic. Here's a grotesquely overexposed shot, but I do want to see what kind of highlight roll-off we're dealing with here. So we're losing, looks like we're losing detail kind of in this sort of line right here. And this is an extreme example, and I think it still is doing a really good job here. Overall, the footage is just so impressive for this price point. The XS20 does indeed have decent autofocus with lots of settings to help you dial in exactly what you want. I wouldn't count on it 100% of the time, but it's certainly very helpful to have. The IBIS system is really impressive. It doesn't get too sticky like some of the older Fuji systems, but it still does a really good job of leveling out shakes. This is such a huge feature because it allows almost any lens to be used with this camera, which can keep the price down, which leads me to the final category, and that's price. As of recording, the XS20 retails on B&H for just under $1,300. But I don't think that's the only positive. Because this camera is mirrorless and it uses the X mount, it has a short flange distance, and that means that you can adapt almost any lens to it. And that includes any of your SLR lenses, that means old vintage lenses. If you do choose to go with a native X mount lens that Fujifilm makes though, you do get the advantage of autofocus. All things considered, I think the XS20 is an excellent buy for those looking for great image quality and a tiny form factor. I could see throwing this thing in a backpack and taking it literally everywhere. I would highly recommend it for those looking for a daily driver or a travel camera. But who knows? It certainly isn't a professional cinema body, but it still shoots great images, so I don't know what's stopping you from using it as your main camera. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.